Namaskara and a warm welcome to all the future medical aspirants out there. I, Mrs. Pooja Joshi, will be your coach and faculty for zoology, for some portion of zoology, which includes the syllabus of your 11th grade and 12th grade. Okay, yeah. So, moving ahead, the portion that will be covered initially from my end will be on human physiology. Alright, to give you from the exam perspective, I would like to inform you that in zoology section, I'm sure you all are aware of the breakup of the chapters or breakup of rather the subjects for the entire NEET syllabus. It includes 45 questions from the chemistry, 45 from physics, 45 from botany and 45 questions from zoology. So when we just look at the zoology portion, which includes 45 questions, there are about 13 to 14 questions that are going to appear from this particular unit of human physiology. Alright, so human physiology, as you all know, is in the 11th grade, the last unit, the 7th unit of the biology portion in CBSE or 11th grade textbook. Alright, now again, you all know that 4 marks is given for one correct question and 1 mark is deducted for every wrong question. Alright, and there are no marks for an unattempted question. So in case you perfect yourself with the human physiology section, you can be sure that you will be getting around 4 marks into around 13 to 14 questions, as I said. That will be in your pocket. Okay, so when you just look at the number of chapters here under human physiology, you have digestion and absorption, you have breathing and exchange of gases, body fluids and circulation, excretion, locomotion and movement, neural control and chemical control. All of these chapters together on an average will have two questions each from every chapter, which means that around 8 marks from every chapter. Sometimes, if the examiner or the person who's going to set the paper, there can be certain changes. Maybe one chapter can have just one question coming up, while the other can have 3. That is going to vary. This is not a fixed thing, but the number of questions, around 13 to 14, that is average, which accounts for 45% of zoology section being covered by human physiology questions. Okay, so by saying so, now this was a part of the exam distribution. Coming to the academic part of it. Okay, so we'll just plunge into the human physiology and I'll take you through the entire body, the way the body processes and how the entire each and every system, okay, is going to help you to carry out all the entire working or existence of life. Okay, now we have studied all these chapters, at least a little bit of it, in your 10th grade under under life processes, right? So exactly as the word says, all of these processes are very important to run your life. Let us just look at the unicellular organism, okay, like maybe the amoeba. You all know that it is the simplest prokaryotic organism, okay? Sorry, I'm not prokaryotic, I mean protozoan organism. Okay, which means that the pro term itself says that it is primitive. Primitive as in it does not have anything which is in advanced form. Just look at this. We call this animal as unicellular. Alright. I'm sure in living in the initial chapters of biology, you have come across what is the life pattern and the existence pattern of this unicellular organism. But we call it still as a living organism, right? This is because it exhibits all of these processes and proves that it is alive. It carries out digestion, it carries out breathing and exchange of gases, body circulation also takes place in it, excretion happens, it moves from one place to another, there is response to stimulus, which is nothing but neural control happening. Alright, so when you just look at this tiny organism and the entire human being, what is the difference? Though this is a single organism, maybe the patterns of the processes will be different, but to say that it is living, it is very, very, very essential that it exhibits all these 7 physiological characters. There is another one called as reproduction. But we need to understand a major difference between all these life processes and reproduction. Of course, reproduction is an essential part of existence, but reproduction is not going to ultimately prove that the organism is living or not. To justify this statement, I would like to tell you that Imagine any animal which is not able to reproduce. Okay, throughout life, if it is not able to produce any offspring, can we say that the organism is not living? No, we can't say so. But in case we say that the organism does not carry out circulation, can it live? No, right? So, any one of these 7 processes, if that stops or gets eliminated, gradually all the other processes are going to shut down and the whole body is going to die. That is what happens. I'm sure you all might have heard somewhere that there is organ failure, one by one, that a person is losing all his functionalities of organs and gradually he is going to die over a period of time. That is what it happens. This I wanted to tell you to just give you an insight of how interlinked all of these systems are. Okay, moving ahead, I want to just give you a brief idea about how dependent these organs, these systems are with each other. Okay, so I hope you got to know the importance of this. All right, just moving on to the next slide. Yeah, before that, digestion and absorption. I'll just give you a simple situation. Okay, because more of this tomorrow when you all are going to be into your professional fields, you need to think from that perspective. You just can't sit with your books are necessary to crack your exams, but how well you understand biology practically and by listening to the experiences around you of people, that's how you're going to learn more of it. All right, that's how you're going to understand more about it. Okay, so let us just think of a situation wherein you are eating something. Okay, maybe you're a little unwell. Okay, and some nice dish has been brought and given, your favorite dish rather has been brought and given to you. What is the first thing that happens? Even when you just think of your favorite food, first thing is your mouth starts watering, right? This do you think there is some kind of connection, like just you're imagining, right? Something that you love is just going to come in front of you, or it is already in front of you. Your mouth starts watering. This is not only a part of the digestive system, but major contribution is given by the neural system. You may say how? This is because of vision. Like, you are going to look at it, the sense organ is going to capture the food and is going to inform your brain that something that you love is in front of you, and as a part of reflex action, your salivary glands are going to produce saliva and prepare your body in order to form the bolus and kind of digest partially whatever you're just going to consume. So it is a part of the body. So just see, digestive system is connected to the neural system. Moving ahead, whatever you eat, then that reaches to your stomach, then it gets digested in the intestine, and the next over a period of few hours you are going to defecate or eliminate this waste. Okay, the next day you are going to feel energetic just because of the food that has been used up, okay, by the body. To convert, food is considered as fuel of the body, right? So that food or fuel is going to be it's going to interact with the gas that you have, or rather the oxygen that you have taken in, with another system altogether, that is the respiratory system. Okay, wherein the gases get exchanged and oxygen is provided to your body, and the waste product, that is the carbon dioxide synthesized by each and every cell, is going to be eliminated out. Now what does this oxygen do? In the presence of oxygen, okay, there is going to be a reaction which will break the food that you have consumed here, and finally as a chemical reaction it is going to produce energy. Okay, it is going to produce energy. Now this energy is going to help you move from one place to another. Even if you don't move from one place to another, all these processes that happen, they require basic amount of energy, and for that again the contribution is done by all of these life processes. Okay, just understand one thing, all these life processes are interrelated, and as in how we go into each chapter, we will understand how they work. Okay, yeah, by saying so and just giving you a brief overview about how human physiology is going to function, or rather is functioning right now in your body, we will move to the next slide. Okay, digestion and absorption. just an overview of how exactly the mark distribution is. Again, in the last 8 years of NEET and AIPMT, let's not include this part in the NEET, and NEET has just started from last 2000 and sorry, there was a glitch. Yeah. So in the initial few years of NEET syllabus, we have the analysis has come out that the alimentary, in the digestion and absorption chapter, the alimentary canal, all right, is covering 27% of the questions. Okay, sorry. Role of digestive enzymes and gastrointestinal hormones is covering around 55%. So this is just to give you an idea. Whatever is being told in the class, other than that, you people also need to put 100% of your study and time in understanding all of this chapter, other than what is taught to you as well. Okay, so just focus more on the digestive enzymes and gastrointestinal hormones part of the chapter. Okay, because it carries 55% of the questions, all right, in digestion. So let us say if you have 3 questions coming from digestion and absorption chapter, around 2 questions on an average are going to appear from the digestive enzymes and gastrointestinal. The rest other one can come anywhere from here. This is just the analysis. Okay, next is nutrition and digestive tract disorders. These are also very important. You never know that one question what we say, though it is just 4%, that one question out of the 3 might come from the digestive disorders as well. So please be aware, do not ignore any part. This is just the analysis, not the importance of the parts. Each and every part is important. All right, so we need to understand this. And now let's just move to the next part. So the topics you need to know under this chapter. All right, nutrition is the first part. So let us just know what exactly do you understand by nutrition. I'm sorry. Yeah. So coming to this part, that is nutrition. Digestion, as I told you, it includes, it deals everything about food, right? So what type of food are we supposed to consume, and how exactly does that function in our body? This is what nutrition is going to tell you about. Now whatever food we consume, what is that made up of? Okay, that is the components of food, right? Then coming to the digestive system. Here we are going to understand about how the alimentary canal is, the structure of it, the histology of it, okay, the parts, rather different parts of the alimentary canal. Then we will move on to the digestive glands. Just the alimentary canal, that is not going to suffice the understanding of the digestive system, because it is a system. Understand, what do you say, how would you define an organ system? It is a part of various organs that work together to carry out a life process. And here we are speaking about digestive system, which includes not only the alimentary canal but the digestive glands as well. Now, these digestive glands produce digestive enzymes. Okay, these digestive enzymes carry out the process of digestion. Okay, we'll come to that. Now, alimentary canal in turn is a long tubular structure which is about 9 meters in length. When you just hold, untwingle the entire alimentary canal starting from the mouth, okay, it is going to move to the anus. From mouth to the anus, which includes, in between there is esophagus, there is stomach, there is intestine, okay, and finally the last part, that is anus. This entire structure is about 9 meters long. Understand this, okay? Now what is this alimentary canal composed of? It is made up of 4 layers. When you just look at it, imagine this is a long tubular structure, okay? When you cut at a particular point and look through it from this angle, okay, you will see that it is a long circular tube which is in turn made up of 4 layers, okay? Entire alimentary canal, understand this, entire alimentary canal starting from the esophagus, okay, not the mouth region. There are little different structures in the mouth region. Coming to the starting from the esophagus up to the anus, entire alimentary canal is composed of the outer structure, middle structure. What are they? I'll just name them. The outermost structure is called as the serosa. Okay, the next middle structure is called as muscularis. Sorry. The next part inner to that is called as submucosa. And last, the innermost is the mucosa. Okay, so the serosa is the epithelial tissue which forms the external covering which protects the entire alimentary canal from any kind of friction or wear out. Okay, internal one is the muscularis layer, which is formed of different types of smooth muscles. Remember, smooth muscles that are arranged longitudinally, obliquely, or circularly. Okay, so there are different layers. Again, it is not just single layer, different arrangement. We can say this entire is going to be the muscularis. Alright, yeah. So now coming to the submucosa layer and the mucosa layer, together they are almost similar. Understand one thing, whatever glands, what I spoke of, digestive glands, they are all found in this mucosa and submucosa layer, rather mostly in the submucosa region. Okay, these glands are nothing but groups of cells which are found randomly scattered here and there in the wall of the alimentary canal, and they produce different types of enzymes depending upon the precursor what they get. They are different enzymes are produced by these digestive glands. Okay, then the innermost, which is, this is the lumen, innermost gap which is there, that is the lumen. Mucosa surrounds it. Okay, so this mucosa is mainly going to produce a lot of mucus which will internally protect the inner wall of the alimentary canal. Okay, so saying so, we will go to the next part, that is the digestive glands. In detail we shall go with it when we individually come to that section. Okay, for now you just understand that various digestive glands produce digestive enzymes, and without the digestive enzymes the process of digestion just cannot happen. Alright, there are numerous enzymes that are produced. Okay, one by one, each gland, what all they produce and how exactly they function, we shall look into it. Coming to the next part that you will be knowing in this chapter, that includes the process of digestion. Digestion includes all of these sub processes. Okay, first one is the ingestion. For the process to take place, okay, ingestion is the first step wherein the food is taken into your system through the mouth. Okay, so the mouth is the opening where the food is taken in, and then the next part comes the buccal cavity, where certain amount of breakdown, mechanical breakdown of food takes place. Okay, so the process of ingestion happens through the mouth. Next is the digestion. Rather, the longest process is the digestion or the chemical breakdown, mechanical and chemical breakdown of food. Now, we find mechanical breaking down of food happening only in the buccal cavity, because there are certain structures that are equipped, that the buccal cavity is equipped, like the teeth and tongue. Both of these are going to help you chew the food. Okay, the term used for that is mastication. Alright, so this mastication happens, and the food finally, whatever form you have consumed, the hard form or whatever, that will be converted into a swallowable form called as the bolus. Okay, so this bolus is formed in the buccal cavity and as a part of mechanical digestion. Also, some amount of chemical digestion happens here. What all happens, that we will look at it a little later. Now, from your mouth to your stomach and your intestine, the process of digestion will be happening continuously in different forms, in different portions it will be happening. Finally, the process of absorption comes, and this happens exclusively in the intestine. No absorption happens in any other part of your alimentary canal. It starts only from the small intestine onwards. Okay, so what is absorption? As the word says, the literal meaning of it is to absorb something, is to suck in something. Okay, so this here, the food gets absorbed in the small intestine and a part of it in the large intestine as well. Now, whatever is absorbed has to reach to the blood circulatory system. Again, coming back to the interlinking. Alright, so this was all about digestion. What happened? Now, this digestive system is dependent on the circulatory system to distribute the food to all the parts of the body. Alright, just imagine your brain has no connection with the digestive system, right? But still it needs food, still it has to grow and develop. And to grow and develop, understand one thing, it is only the food, the fuel that is going to do it. So how is this food that gets digested somewhere down in your body going to go reach the top of your body? Through the circulatory pathway or the transport system. And we all are well aware that it is the blood which is the transport system in the body, and whatever food is absorbed, okay, that is taken by the bloodstream, and which this is going to circulate to each and every part of your body, including your fingertips, okay, from top to toe. How did you grow from a baby to the young adult that you are? By growth and development, and the food that you consumed has reached to all these parts of the body through the circulatory system. Okay, yeah. So once the absorption is done, next process is assimilation. Assimilation is the process where whatever you have consumed whatever has been absorbed has reached the proper target. Like I gave you example of the brain now. Brain in the sense, the cells of the brain, they need to get this fuel. They need to get food in the simplest form, right? So the reaching of that is going to take place, and once it reaches there, we call that process as assimilation. Lastly, we come to the digestion. Now, whatever we consume, understand one thing, this is a part of nature. Okay, this is the rule of nature, wherein whatever form of energy or fuel is taken in, 100% of it is never utilized. Okay, most of it gets evaporated in the form of the heat. Okay, some of it is like in the form of energy that is utilized, and some part of it is eliminated out as waste product. Okay, so we all know that the waste that we generate through the digestive system is called as the fecal matter, okay, fecus, which is eliminated out, and that includes the undigested portion of the food. Okay, and through the anus, the digestion process takes place. Alright, so the process of digestion includes ingestion, digestion. Now again, digestion has chemical and mechanical breakdown. Then the absorption of the digested food, assimilation of the absorbed food, and digestion of the undigested food. Alright, now coming to the last part. Okay, understand one thing, each and every chapter of your physiology, human physiology, ends with the disorders. Now, the above whatever explanation is there, this is when your body is completely normal. Okay, if you eat normally, if you sleep normally, if you drink water normally, all the physiological processes take place in a perfect manner. But in case there are certain ups and downs, like you don't eat well, you don't sleep properly, okay, you drink very minimal amount of water, or you are not you don't maintain hygiene. If you don't maintain hygiene, that is the room for a lot of microorganisms to attack you. So when all of these ups and downs happen, the systems they exhibit disorders. Alright, so these disorders will be related to digestive system. We shall also have a look at those. Alright, so moving ahead, I hope whatever the gist of it is clear to you. Okay, yeah. Now coming forward, nutrition. We will start with this, the first part of the previous section, what I told you. We shall begin with nutrition. Yeah. So understand one thing, there are three basic types of nutritions that we see in the entire animal kingdom rather. Okay, or entire living organisms. Okay. So first is the autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition includes the organism that have the capacity to prepare their own food and fulfill their energy requirements They do not depend on any other organism for their food. But again, they can't be completely independent. They are dependent on the inorganic or other non living, okay, the abiotic factors of the nature, like the sunlight, water, and the internal structure like the chlorophyll what they have, or the chloroplast. Okay, so they are dependent on these external abiotic factors for the process to get carried out. Okay, so now here we see that there is no presence of any other living organism. Okay, so autotrophs, this is their way of existence. They just depend on these abiotic factors. They consume energy in different forms, like sunlight is a form of energy, so that is converted into chemical energy and stored in the body of a photoautotrophic organism. Let us just like we are all aware of the examples. Plants are examples of photoautotrophs because they depend on the light, and auto refers to self. Okay, so they prepare their own food and depend on sunlight for energy. Okay, again there are few other examples like the algae. These are examples, okay, which yeah, that are photoautotrophic. Coming to the chemoautotrophs, we find these organisms only deep in the sea beds, okay, wherein they have no source to light. Source of light is absent completely. You can't imagine sunlight to reach the deep the depths of the ocean, right? So they depend on the inorganic chemicals that are present in the soil, in the soil of the ocean, okay, at the base. They use these chemicals and as a source of energy and manufacture their own food, and then they survive. We find that most of the chemoautotrophs are all microorganisms that live in the deep seas. Alright, yeah. Moving on to the next type of nutrition that is exhibited by the living organisms, that is the heterotrophic nutrition. Okay, in heterotrophs we have so many varieties and many more, as in how to the best of my knowledge I have kind of extracted these many varieties of heterotrophic nutritions. Herbivores, omnivores and carnivores, you have heard of these three since your primary days, right? So anybody can define a herbivore. Herbivorous organisms are those are the animals that depend only on the plants or plant products. Okay, you can name a few herbivores for yourself, like the cattle, elephant. All right, so these are all some examples that they depend only on the plants and plant products, like the grass or maybe the sugar cane or fruits, whatever, like only products of the plants. Okay, or specifically in general, this is okay. Omnivores are the ones that can feed on both as in the what carnivores do, they feed on the flesh of the other animals, and herbivores depend on the plants. So we can just simply say that herbivores depend on the plant kingdom and carnivores depend on the animal kingdom. And omnivores are the ones that depend on both. If they have source to the flesh or meat of animals, they eat that, or if they have source of any plant, they eat that. You can name, who can you think of under omnivores? Humans are the best example, okay, because humans also consume the meat of other animals and also consume the plants and plant products. Okay, moving ahead, sanguivores. Okay, what are these organisms? Organisms that these animals suck the blood of the other animals. Okay, and that's how they complete their nutrition. What is the purpose of sucking blood? Okay, just recollect what I just told you in the previous slide. Food, whatever absorbed food is there in the blood at any point of time, that food will be traveling to one place or the other to see that it provides this food to some or the other part of the body. In between, let's say a mosquito comes and starts to sits on your skin and it is going to suck blood. So through your blood, it is going to get the essential nutrients that you have consumed for yourself, okay, which is being taken by this mosquito. Okay, not just that, there are certain examples of sanguivores like the leeches. Okay, leeches are also sanguivores. Okay, blood sucking organisms in simple words. Okay, yeah. Coming to detritus. Detritus and carrions are to some extent similar. Okay, detritus are the ones that depend on the decaying parts, decaying organs and organisms that are already in the soil. Okay, so detritus organisms, they are going to depend on the decaying already something which are already partially decayed. On such things they are going to depend. Moving on to carrions. Carrions are the ones which are going to in which, like vultures, they will be looking out. Now these vultures actually, you have never heard of vultures running after a prey and capturing the prey. If for example, let us say in the wild, if lion has consumed something and has just left it half, these vultures are going to go and eat on the freshly dead organism. Okay, such ones are called as the carrions. Okay, wherein they do not have the capacity to hunt for themselves, but also cannot completely consume these decayed part. So something which is partially in between that, they go in search of that, and that's how they fulfill their requirement of nutrition. Egvivorous are the organisms that are mostly dependent on eggs for their survival. For example, snakes. It's not that snake consumes only eggs, okay, but there are certain species of snakes that consume their own eggs, or rather the eggs of other animals like the birds. Most of us, we have heard that when the birds lay their eggs in the trees, in the nests, these snakes go after them. That is one reason why we always see the mother bird always with their eggs. It's very rare sight that they go in search, that the nest is left unattended to. Okay, that is because they do not want their eggs to be eaten by these egvivores like the snakes, okay, and other organisms which are egvivores. Coming to frugivorous organisms that depend on fruits, like specifically, let us say, fruit eating bat. Okay, fruit eating bat is one. We have parrot or many other birds, alright, tiny birds. Just to give you an example, in evolution chapter you will study about this, okay, under Darwin's finches. Just to give you an idea about it, each and every bird has got different types of beaks, if you all have observed a little. Okay, this is because not all birds have same type of food requirements. Some birds have a very hard beak. Okay, so because they consume hard structures such as the seeds, something which is very hard, they need to dig that. A woodpecker, for example, the beak of the woodpecker is very strong, okay, so that it can peck the wood and consume whatever it finds there. Okay, but if you just look at the beak of a sparrow, it's very soft and small. Okay, this is just to pick grains from the field. How rigid, how hard is it to pick a grain from the paddy field, right? It's not very difficult. The husk of it is very soft and they can just pick it. Okay, that's why they have a pointed one, so that they can pick it. So frugivores are also the animals that are dependent on fruits. They do not have a very strong different shaped beak. It's just necessary, sufficient enough for them to just consume, pick a fruit, or kind of just break the outer covering. Some fruits are rigid, some are very soft, so depending on that they have their beaks. Okay, so frugivores mostly are the birds we find which are frugivores. Otherwise, I just told you example of the fruit eating bat as well. Insectivores. In insectivores, we find that organisms that depend on the insects, like the frogs. Snakes also consume some insects. We also find insectivorous plants, Venus flytrap. Okay, so just to say that the initial part, these words what we say, they are just the source of food, source on through which the organism is going to get its nutrition. Okay, so insectivores, it refers that it is a insect consuming organism. Okay, coming to grainivores. So grainivores are again, it is more and more specific. Actually, they come under herbivores only. Okay, frugivores, granivores, they all are under herbivores, because as I told you, herbivores includes plants and products of plants, right? So grains are nothing but parts of they're the products of the crops. So granivores are the organisms, or rather any organisms that depend on grains for nutrition. Solvivores are the ones that depend on soil and they consume whatever is available in the soil and suffice their requirement of nutrition. If you can just think of an example that is solvivores, farmer's best friend, earthworm. Okay. Coming to the last part, that is carnivores. These are really dangerous organisms because they don't think of depending on other animals. They can eat their own type. There is a tribe even till date in Africa which they kill each other and eat the flesh of the other human being. It's the most dangerous type of form of way of obtaining nutrition, I think. Okay, coming to the next type, that is a mixotrophic. Mixotrophic are the organisms somewhat like omnivores. Omnivores, we have seen that they are the intermediate between carnivores and herbivores. They can eat both flesh and plants. Euglena is similar to, it's a kind of intermediate between autotrophic and heterotrophic. Okay, means what? Whenever there is source of sunlight, Euglena has the capacity to prepare its own food because it contains chlorophyll. Okay, in absence of the sunlight, because chlorophyll is functional only when there is source of energy, that is the sunlight. When there is no sunlight, Euglena also have the capacity to consume much more smaller debris of other animals, okay, and fulfill their requirement of energy. I hope this part is clear to you. Understanding different types of nutrition is very important. Okay. Yeah. So autotrophic, heterotrophic and mixotrophic. Mixotrophic, mostly the exclusive example for that is Euglena. Understand that Euglena are green in color. That is because of the presence of chlorophyll in them. Okay. So saying so, we will move to the next slide. Feeding mechanisms. Now we know what all the animals eat. Okay, the way they eat, all that is fine. But exactly how do they see that it enters their body? Okay, diffusion is the most simplest form of feeding mechanism. Let us just go to the definition of diffusion. You all know, you study about diffusion even in chemistry and physics to some extent, right? So diffusion is nothing but the movement of molecules from a region of its higher concentration to the region of its lower concentration. Okay, so wherever something which is highly concentrated, nature has made this phenomenon wherein it moves to the region where it is less and somehow the balance is made. Okay, so this is what diffusion is. Now what exactly has this diffusion got to do with feeding mechanism? Okay, let us just again go to the amoeba that I was just saying. Okay, okay, not amoeba, any other unicellular organism rather, because amoeba has pseudopodia. Okay, so I just pick any other unicellular organism. Okay, how is it going to consume food? Now it comes into the area, let us say there is one unicellular organism. It comes into the area where abundant of food is available and inside its body there is no much of food available. Through simple diffusion, now again, that being a prokaryotic or a unicellular organism does not have well defined features for its survival, right? So what it does is that by simple diffusion, its plasma membrane, okay, plasma membrane is simply going to allow food materials into its body, okay, and once the food enters inside, there are certain certain structures that will give out enzymes and digest the food that has entered inside. Okay, so this is by simple diffusion, and whatever waste is produced, that is also thrown out of the body through simple diffusion. Okay, that includes diffusion. Coming to phagocytosis. Phagocytosis is a type of process wherein food, phago refers to food, cytosis is a cell. Again, we find this process of phagocytosis happening in the single celled organisms. Okay, here when we say phagocytosis, cell eating process, cell eating can happen. Now here I can take the example of this amoeba. Okay, now amoeba finds any kind of food, it is going to produce a pseudopodia engulf the food into it, and finally the food is going to be a part of its vesicle inside. Okay, so gradually whatever other parts are available, those are going to digest the food that is been consumed, break it down, and finally distribute the food to all the other in the cytoplasm, and that is how the organism is going to grow in size. Okay, yeah, so this is what is um, phagocytosis, cell eating process. Pinocytosis is cell drinking process. Okay, any kind of fluid to fulfill the requirement of water, the cell similarly consumes water droplets. That can also be through diffusion. Okay, in some cases water droplets are engulfed into and a water vacuole is made. Alright, sucking, as I told you, sucking is seen in case of mosquitoes, like generally the blood sucking types, the ectoparasites, what we say. Ecto refers to the external. Okay, rather, parasite is an organism that depends on the host and causes harm to the host. Okay, ecto means outside. The parasites that sit on your body, outside your body, like on your body, and kind of try to acquire nutrition or shelter or any kind of resource from the host. Okay, such organisms are called as ectoparasites. Mosquito is one of them. Okay, then we have, as I told you, leech. There are many other, this is only with respect to humans, I told you. So many other animals have other parasites that, depend on the host and suck the nutrition from their body surface. Such is another kind of feeding mechanism. Filter feeding. When you just study about animal kingdom, you might have come across an organism under phylum Cnidaria called as the Hydra. I'm sorry. This is filter feeding is seen, in Hydra to some in some salient traits, yes, but majorly we find filter feeding in the large mammals. Again, we can just go back to animal kingdom and see that in case of whales. Okay, in case of whales, we find that they exhibit filter feeding. What happens in them is the huge body they consume. You know that whales are the largest living organisms on the planet. Okay, they gulp water, like tons and tons of water, gallons of water are consumed inside, and that water carries lot of small fishes, little large fishes, whatever small invertebrates are there, all of that enters the mouth of this whale. Okay, there is a layer, okay, where water is moved out and whatever particles are there, they get filtered here. Okay, water simply moves and there is a outlet through which water, you might have seen in movies or on TV that whale comes is generally is seen on the surface of water and it throws out fountain of water, right. Okay, this is part of its filter feeding mechanism, wherein whatever water it consumes inside, okay, that is going to filter out the contents, the food contents, like as I told you, of fishes and all those things, and excess water is thrown out in this form. Okay, yeah, so whatever is left behind, that is pushed into the stomach and the digestion process takes place. So such filter feeding is also seen in small invertebrates, like I mentioned. Coming to tentacle capture, here I would like to mention about the Hydra. Okay, so Hydra is an organism, it's an invertebrate organism that exhibits tentacles. Tentacles are extensions of the body, okay, which do the work of gathering the food. Okay, because most of these are in, they are sessile, they cannot move from one place to another. So wherever they are in water currents, some objects will be moving here and there. Okay, these tentacles capture them and push them into their body. Okay, so once this is done, internally they have a system where the food is taken and the enzymes will digest it, and the food is absorbed and distributed to the whole body. So capturing of the food is done by the tentacles. In case of Hydra, we also see that octopus, which is a mollusk, has tentacles, has 8 tentacles extensions which do the similar work. Okay, coming to the tongue capture, there are some organisms like the chameleon, if you all have heard chameleon or chameleon, both pronunciations are fine, absolutely no problem. these are the reptiles that change their color. They're famous for that. Okay, so you also know that frogs, okay, the extensions of the tongue is extended out. Okay, they have a sticky extended flat structure which kind of captures the insect, and they roll back the tongue into their mouth. Okay, same is with the chameleons, and many other reptiles also exhibit tongue capture type of feeding mechanism. Lastly, in the most advanced form is the mouth and most advanced form is the mouth and teeth, like we see in many animals. Okay, like humans, we have two hands to put food into our mouth. Similarly, it is not the case with other organisms. Like you just imagine lion or a tiger. Okay, they run after the prey, they catch hold of the prey with the help of their mouth. For that, their jaws have to be really strong. Okay, the human jaw is not as strong as that of any carnivore, because carnivores don't catch with the help of hand. They just use hands, their forelimbs, as support. But mainly the role of forelimbs is for locomotions, to run, walk, and all. Their forelimbs are not as well equipped as the human forelimb is to capture food. They don't have long fingers. You all know what type of fingers or what type of feet these animals have, right? Yeah. So mouth and teeth is type of feeding mechanism which is found in most advanced animals. Okay. So I hope the feeding mechanisms is clear to you. Starting from the most basic form to the most advanced form, we find different types of feeding mechanisms in animals across the animal kingdom. Okay, yeah. Moving ahead, we have reached to the section of components of food. Okay, so components of food includes, again, we will be getting to know more about the biomolecules here. There is an exclusive chapter on biomolecules that is already there in your 11th syllabus. So I will not go too much into detail here. All we need to understand is that these biomolecules are extremely essential in balanced amount. Remember, in balanced amount, to see that the energy or proper amount of energy is provided to the body. So we see that carbohydrates are one such components of food which is essential. Proteins, lipids, vitamins, minerals, and water. Remember, first three of them are grouped into macromolecules, macrobiomolecules, and these, not water, sorry, only the vitamins and minerals are micro. Okay. Though the term macro and micro is there. Micro means something which is required in less amount. Macro, which is required in large amount. Because carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids, they are also called as they provide enormous amount of energy. Every 1 gram of carbohydrate produces 4 kilocalories of energy. Proteins also produce 4 kilocalories of energy, but lipids produce 9 kilocalories of energy. Okay, a little ratio here and there, but this is the basic calculation. In the sense, 1 gram of carbohydrate, you get 4 kilocalories of energy. Energy is measured in the form of kilocalories, right? Yeah. So that is how it works. So these carbohydrates, again, we need to understand that major carbohydrates are the polysaccharides that are broken into disaccharides and finally into monosaccharides. We consume in the form of polysaccharides, but finally the body understands and absorbs the language of monosaccharides. Body cannot absorb polysaccharides. Okay, only the monosaccharide is absorbed, and that is what runs into the blood vessel. Okay, and that is what is absorbed by every cell. Okay, so the cell, because it is the simplest form, cannot absorb any form of polysaccharide, so they need to be broken down. Okay, so how are they broken down? Again, by the action of various enzymes that act in between various other glands that are produced different parts of the alimentary canal. Similarly, we have proteins. Proteins are nothing but polypeptides that are converted into peptides, which are then converted into basic amino acids, again, which are absorbable in their absorbable form. Coming to lipids again. Lipids are complex forms which are broken into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, triglycerides are the intermediate forms. Finally, you get fatty acids and glycerol, which are again in their absorbable form. Vitamins and minerals are not majorly metabolized. The process of conversion of these complex form into simplest form is called as metabolism. Okay, again I would just like to bring to your notice that metabolism is again has two parts in it, two forms in it. Anabolism, okay, many people, these are actually the basics which kind of slips off sometimes from your mind, so just to refresh that: anabolism and catabolism. So anabolism is building up of something from small parts. Okay, catabolism is the reverse of it. Something which is complex is broken into the simplest form. Simple. So building and breaking, this process it has to happen in the body, and it happens in different ways. Understand, enzymes play a major role in this process. So metabolism is a common term used. Alright, yeah. So as I told you, vitamins and minerals are microbiomolecules that do not undergo any kind of major metabolism. In whatever form they are the simplest forms itself. They are required for the smooth running and functioning of the human body. They play major roles everywhere. In case some vitamins are less in the body, that leads to major disorders. So though they are micro, they are that much amount, the trace amount has to reach the body. Alright, yeah. So after understanding the components of the food, we will now move further to the human digestive system, actually plunging into the main concept of digestive system. Okay, yeah. Here digestive system is distributed, as I told you, into alimentary canal and the digestive glands. Alimentary canal, the first part of it is the buccal cavity, to which the opening is the mouth. Mouth is the opening to the buccal cavity. In the buccal cavity, we find that there is only one type of gland, and that is the salivary gland. Salivary gland, as I told you, glands, they are named so because they produce certain secretions, and enzymes here are the major secretions. The enzyme that the salivary glands produce is called as the salivary amylase. Okay, yeah. What role it plays and all, again in the next section we will see. Now, whatever food is consumed through the mouth first goes to the buccal cavity. By the action of digestive glands and salivary amylase, it gets, it forms into structure called as the bolus. This bolus is then pushed into the next part called as the pharynx. Pharynx is an intermediate hall. Let us just consider, in a house you have a common region called as the hall. From that hall you have different rooms, right? One of them goes to the common area, that is the hall. From there it goes to the bedroom or the kitchen. Similarly, this pharynx is one such region wherein, imagine this common room. From here there is one part, other part. This is one tube. Okay, this is the pharynx region. Pharynx. Whatever comes from the digestive system moves into the esophagus. Whatever comes through the respiratory, through the nostrils, moves into the trachea. This is the common region. Okay, that is why they say, they in the sense everybody, I'm sure at your homes, they say that you should not laugh aloud or talk too much while you are eating something. That's why it is a age old tradition that you're supposed to eat food in complete silence. This is because the food that you consume should undisturbedly go into the esophagus and not enter into the trachea by mistake. And you may say, why will that happen, ma'am? What is the big deal? Like, food knows no where it is to go. No, it is because the common passage pharynx might accidentally send food particles into the trachea. That's what happens. Imagine when you're eating something and you're laughing aloud. Some of them, or even you yourself might have experienced that you start coughing a lot. This is because accidentally a particle of food or water enters into the trachea, and trachea is not equipped at all to sustain the presence of any form, any state of matter other than the gaseous state. So liquid state in the form of water droplet, it just cannot stand. It completely gets irritated, and that is how the coughing is a reflex action of it. And food particle, of course, definitely not. It is a solid form, and even that the trachea cannot tolerate. So you start coughing, and as a reflex action, the food is again thrown back into the trachea. Okay, and then sometimes it just emerges out, or sometimes it is pushed into the esophagus. That's the reason they say that if you talk. Now again, coming to the actual point, the main flap, okay, there is a flap called as the epiglottis. Epiglottis is a flap which usually, this is just a simple explanatory model. It is in a very complex form in your actual body, but to make you understand, I'm just drawing a red color flap. Okay, flap is nothing but a circular, this kind of structure, which covers the esophagus most of the time. See, we don't keep eating all the time, right? But breathing is happening every second, right? So whenever you eat food, this flap opens and in turn closes the trachea. Okay, so when this flap turns and closes, I'll just make another image, a little clear one. To make you understand this very clearly. So as I told you, the pharynx, imagine that to be a common region, and it is connected to two separate pipelines. One is the trachea, the other is the esophagus. Food, when it enters, and I'll just draw the flap in yellow color. I told you this flap is always covering the esophagus. Whenever food enters, this flap is automatically going to go and close the trachea and keep the esophagus open. So when the esophagus is open, okay, the food without any hazel enters into the esophagus. Okay, now when you are laughing, all right, when you're eating something, you're laughing. So when you're laughing, it's when you need more of oxygen, like you take in a lot of air. So, when you're laughing, you take in air and you laugh, right? So when you take air, the flap also has to open for trachea. At the time you're going to swallow, the flap has to, that is epiglottis. Let's just name this as epiglottis. Okay, this epiglottis has to cover the esophagus, because air has to go to the trachea. It just can't remain here. It will never remain here. It has to either close either of them. Okay, so now the epiglottis, when you're doing two actions at a time, eating and laughing, it gets confused, and then it just doesn't, it improperly closes either of it, and by chance, accidentally, as I told you, food might enter the trachea, leading to profuse coughing. Okay, so that is what is the logic or the purpose of epiglottis. It always keeps the esophagus closed. Only when you swallow, there is constriction of this region happening, due to which the flap goes and shuts the trachea and keeps the esophagus open. I hope I have explained this well to you in an understandable form. Okay, now that the food has entered into the esophagus, food then esophagus is known to carry out peristalsis, wherein the food, though like esophagus is a straight pipe, when food bolus enters, it provides way. Then it goes to the next part. This part enlarges. Food comes here. This part enlarges. Food comes here. This part enlarges. So there is peristalsis. Okay, peristalsis is the rhythmic contraction and relaxation. See, contraction, relaxation, contraction, relaxation of the esophagus, so that food is pushed in a proper manner and then it reaches the stomach. Okay, yeah. When food reaches the stomach, then we have role of the gastric gland. Gastric, the term refers to stomach. Did you observe that I did not mention anything about any gland in these two regions because there are no glands? Esophagus, on the other hand, has mucus glands which produce mucus for proper lubrication and to make the passage of food in a smooth manner. Okay, yeah. Next, coming on to the stomach. Stomach, whatever food you eat. Okay, understand one thing, that stomach is the widest portion of the intestine, of the alimentary canal. Okay, where food stays in the stomach for about a period of 4 to 5 hours. In some cases, it is 3 to 4 hours in young people, because food is quickly digested and it is quickly converted into energy, and it is, requirement of food is more. That's why as youngsters, as small children, you feel hungry frequently. But on an average, a healthy adult human, it is 4 to 5 hours. For 4 to 5 hours, the stomach is full, which means that there is digestion, chemical breakdown of food happening in the stomach during this time. Okay, yeah. Now furthermore, the food is pushed into the intestine. Intestine is a very, very important part of your alimentary canal, because here the actual absorption happens. Whatever food you have eaten knows where it gets absorbed, and it knows where to go. It is in this region. Okay. Now coming, the role of other two glands is going to be exhibited here. Liver is going to pour its secretion into the small intestine. Pancreas is going to pour its contribution into the small intestine, and of course the intestinal glands are a part of small intestine itself, and they are going to pour their secretions. Lastly, large intestine has got various majorly they have the glands that produce lot of water. Okay, water pockets are there, lot of water is produced, and finally absorption of water also equally takes place here, and then the food that is in liquid form is formed into a semi-solid structure, and it is eliminated out through the anus. Okay, this slide was to explain about the relevance of digestive glands and their association with the different parts of alimentary canal. Alright, we shall move ahead to the actual digestive system here. You can see that the digestive system has the mouth, oral cavity, the tongue, okay, then the salivary glands, that are 3, pharynx, esophagus. The spelling of esophagus can be starts with O or E. Both are absolutely correct, because one is the American English and the other is the British English. So both are fine, no problem. Next, coming to the, look at the connection here, you come to the stomach. Stomach, it moves from behind, goes to the small intestine. Small intestine is connected to the large intestine, and then the anus. In between you have the liver, which gives its secretion into the small intestine here in the duodenum, and the pancreas gives its secretion again into the duodenum. In detail we will come to this process later. So for today's session, we shall just end with this brief, whatever explanation has happened till